Yesterday, he took his place alongside fellow former Prime Ministers in Westminster Hall to listen to the keynote speech of Barack Obama's trip to Britain. Today, I met with Tony Blair, now the Middle East peace envoy, and I asked him first what he made of the President's messages during the state visit. Obama's message here in London was one of freedom, but an urging of peoples to realise it for themselves. It's a speech Tony Blair watched with David Cameron. I put it to Mr. Blair, Libya's freedom fighters get military assistance. Syrians and Bahrainis get nothing.
Look, one of the things that's most difficult here is to draw a set of very clear principles. When you intervene, when you don't. Which regimes do you say, we'll give them a chance? Which regimes do you say, no, we've got to demand that they go? And I think what is really coming to are those regimes, as it were, where you feel there is a prospect, there could be an evolution over time to a better, more democratic system, and those that are basically oppressing their people without any prospect either of prosperity or greater freedom. And there are difficult lines and messy compromises to be made, and I think that's just inevitable. So, if you take Syria particularly, you look at it now, I think probably most people are saying, well, we have no faith left in President Assad to bring about change there. But for a time, at least, people were prepared to look at that.
Thank you very much.
In America last week, Obama said Israel's peaceful future should be based on its pre-war borders of 1967. I put it to Tony Blair that the Israeli Prime Minister, Mr. Netanyahu, had rejected that, and the US Congress had cheered.
President Obama was trying to give some shape to how we move forward and saying, look, a Palestinian state has got to be viable territorially. And the only way it's viable is if you base it on 67 borders, but you have agreed land swaps.
And you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the international community's position, has been for a long time.
So you have no sympathy for Netanyahu's 9-mile strip?
Well, what I was then going to say is, if you then analyse what Prime Minister Netanyahu says, and he says, we can't return to the precise 1967 lines because there's realities on the ground. Well, in one sense, that's a different way of saying 67 borders and land swaps, because the land swaps have got to be agreed. And whether it's the land swaps that Prime Minister Netanyahu wants or what President Abbas would want on behalf of the Palestinians, that's the negotiation. Now, you've then got refugees, you've got Jerusalem, you've got security. What I'm saying is that I think, given the seriousness of this situation now, and given the fact that there does appear to be a breakdown in the political impasse, we've got to try and define a way forward.
Then how do you judge the fusion of, or the refusion of Hamas and Fatah? I mean, do you see that as a positive or a concerning development?
Truthfully, it's too early to tell. I mean, it could be positive if there is a genuine reconciliation around principles that promote peace.
But I mean, do you actually see the likelihood that Palestine will declare its own independence this autumn, that you could be finding yourself having to cross international borders to get to do your job?
I think it's I don't know how much practical difference any of that would make to how I do it anyway, but I think there is going to be a big build-up towards September. And one of the reasons why I think it's important we try and define a framework to move forward is that otherwise then people get into unilateral gestures and, you can agree or disagree with this, but the truth of the matter is it's not a substitute for a negotiation.
Do you see President Obama as a lone voice, or his administration as a lone voice, in the face of pretty resistant political activity in the United States?
What he's trying to do, and in a sense is what we're all trying to do, is to say, what is the central question for the Palestinians? It is that if they have a state, it's viable. For Israel, the issue is security, and that issue of security has been heightened, frankly, by what has happened in the region. And the fact is, if I was the Israeli Prime Minister, I would be concerned about security. They've got a real security issue. So the question is how you give the Israelis the security guarantees you need and the Palestinians the territorial guarantees they need, on the one side for security, on the other hand for viability.
And are you going to stay doing the job?
I'm absolutely going to stay doing it, yeah. I mean, it's been 4 years. Look, there is hope there. I mean, I was there last week on the West Bank. You can see the development going on, but we need a political process.
Tony Blair, thank you very much for talking to us.